Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. And it is match day. We're setting an alarm for Tuesday morning, 5 a.m. For the match against Liverpool. And we'll discuss the Liverpool match at the end of the day. But that match day excitement has arrived. But as you can see, I do have a special guest with me, my good friend Lewis, obviously a Brazilian footballer, playing his trade here in Sydney at the moment. And I thought I'd no better chance than to get Lewis on. He was on one of our earlier shows when we first started YouTube. And we look back at sort of some of the Brazilian footballers to play at Manchester United and how they were perceived in Brazil and were they successful, because there's so much sort of controversy on have we had good signings from Brazil, your Rafaels, Fabios, Andersons, Cleversons, and we've got a new Brazilian now, which we are going to discuss. It does look like he's going to be unveiled at Old Trafford before the Liverpool match. We'll get into people's thoughts if they think that is a good idea, obviously with the protest and obviously the situation Manchester United do find themselves in. But we will go through all things Casemiro and Brazilians at Manchester United. But before we get into the football chat, and to say good day to everyone in the live chat, Lewis, my mate, how's things, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me again. Thanks for the invite. I think the first time was a very good reason for being with you here, but now it's even better. It's exciting news for you guys, and I would say for the Premier League as well. It's a great player that is joining the league and joining.
Yeah, no, I want to pick your brain over Casemiro, and I'm sure a lot of people in the live chat have questions as well, because look, he is this household name. We know what he's achieved in the game. We know he's a great footballer. We don't watch Real Madrid or Brazil every week, and I think we used to work together a couple of years ago, and we used to spend hours every day, every week, sort of discussing football. And obviously, your knowledge of the Brazilian footballers and European football scene is second to none. So, loving to get your thoughts and sort of, I'd say expertise. I'd say that kindly, expertise around sort of Brazilian players in Casemiro, because we do know how good he is, but we don't have this sort of the insight into sort of we think he's a good defensive midfielder, but what does he bring to Manchester United's midfield? But I will say good day to some people in the live chat before we kick on with the discussion. Vinicius here definitely sounds a Brazilian name. Lewis, could you give me a translation in what Vinicius is saying?
It's my cousin, actually. He just said that I'm a monster.
Monster. Good to see you, Vinicius. Hope you are keeping well.
Way, actually.
In a good way. George here. Hello, lads. Big news that Casemiro will be unveiled tomorrow on the pitch. Hope the game happens tomorrow. To know where we're at. Will be interesting if the match goes ahead. Lewis, I probably haven't discussed that with you. There is a little bit of sort of rumours that the match might not actually go ahead. We'll discuss that a little bit later. Rob from It's a Football Thing, good to see you, mate. I'm going Gilco here. Could have done with for the game tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see if the match does go ahead. Obviously Tuesday morning Sydney time. Adam here from the Supporters Club. Good to see you, mate. Obviously from Man Cave United, just did a preview of the match. Go check them out on Man Cave United. Here in tomorrow's game may not go ahead. Barricades ever at Old Trafford. I did see those barricades. Liverpool are in town. A lot of those pictures of those barricades were in front of the away end, which is quite standard when Liverpool do come to town. But it will be interesting. No doubt the game is potentially in jeopardy. Adam, good to see you as well. Sam Osborne here. Vamos Lewis. And Tad here, just before we do crack on with the chat. Casemiro, good signing, but nothing changes. Glazers out, which, look, I completely agree with. But we're going to go into all things Casemiro and just get an insight onto what he's actually going to bring for Manchester, or bring to Manchester United. At the moment, we just want bodies. It didn't matter who it was. Just bring a defensive midfielder in, because it's a position we need so much of, albeit sort of the man they actually got over the line is potentially the best defensive midfielder in the world, which we did not expect that a couple of days ago. And he was announced to Manchester United play. So if you do have any questions, throw them in the comments below, and I'll throw them to Lewis. But before we get into sort of Casemiro, there was just one question I wanted to throw at you. As a neutral, like here, you're not an Arsenal fan, not a Liverpool fan. Sort of, there's no bias here. When you see Manchester United at the moment, well, what do you see? Like, is it funny? Is it sad? Is it like, are you intrigued on what the issues are, or can you see the issues that are in front of you? Because there's no hiding from the fact we're not where we're supposed to be. We're not where we should be. So just as a neutral with no bias, like when you see Manchester United at the moment, what do you see?
Of course, as a fan, I don't support any team, any club in the Premier League. So for me, it's easier to completely be neutral in this situation. I reckon I would say it's sad. The word is sad, because it's one of the biggest clubs in the history of the game, and going through that situation, it's totally sad. And it's hard to say as well, because I've been listening to a podcast as well and a lot of people guess, well, the problem is this, the problem is that. All the directors or whoever is in charge needs to go into the dressing room and try to figure out what's happening. It's hard when it comes to big clubs like that. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? You can be down or you can be up there. And with United, since Sir Alex Ferguson left, it's been up and down. Some seasons you do well. Some seasons, it's inconsistent the way it is right now. But it's definitely one of the worst times, I would say, in terms of the field and on the field as well. Because of course it reflects on the field as well. It's obvious, So.
Well, look, if all these things off the field, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show, in regards, I'm sure they'll dominate a lot of the discussion in the live chat, but that is all off the field. The Glazers, they're off the field. If you start winning on the field, it changes everything. If we start winning games and scoring goals and getting points, it fixes everything. Now, ultimately, it doesn't really fix the problems, but it papers over the cracks, and perception is reality at the end of the day. But we'll get into Casemiro. Here I've just said, okay, what a defensive midfielder is, what a great signing he is. In terms of when Manchester United, when Erik ten Hag came in, the main midfielder, and still potentially, who knows, I don't think so, I think it's over, but Frankie de Jong, he was the player who was going to come in and sort of fix Manchester United's midfield, and he was Erik ten Hag's number one target. Now, we all know what a fantastic player Frankie de Jong is and the way he plays the game. Now, he plays the game in the same area of the pitch as Casemiro, but obviously a very different player. So we've gone from Frankie de Jong and then we've gone to Casemiro, and you think, well, hang on, is it the same type of player? Is Erik ten Hag really getting what he wants? Is he getting something else? Was Casemiro always part of the plan and hopefully to partner Frankie de Jong in the midfield too? Only Erik ten Hag knows the answer to that. So just in regards to, we here as Man United fans see Casemiro as a defensive midfielder for Real Madrid and all that he's achieved. He's more than a defensive midfielder. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. So what, as someone who watches him very closely over the years, can he provide that sort of what Frankie de Jong, obviously not to that level of technique and ability to dictate play, but especially comparing to our midfield at the moment with McTominay and Fred, in terms of what attributes beside tackling and sort of energy does Casemiro provide at midfield?
I see differently. I see Casemiro is a completely different player than De Jong. De Jong is more a kind of a eight. He can create. You know what I mean? Like, he can also play as a six, but Casemiro as a six is the best one in the world. This is by far his last game for Madrid. I don't know if it was his last game, but when they won just then against Frankfurt, the Super Cup.
Oh, yeah.
He was the best player on the pitch. He was the man of the match. And it was just then, two weeks ago. So I think in terms of what actually United need, I think they need more Casemiro than De Jong, to be honest. Yeah. Because they don't actually, I can see the United start this season with McTominay as a center mid, as the six. And then the second game was with Fred doing that role, because it was him and Eriksen. So compare those two, that they're not a proper six, and then you bring the best one in the world, you believe that they actually gonna
that is something, and I want to touch on Fred a little bit later, but it's an interesting point there, because they're two players who are so heavily criticised, and I think rightly so at times. I think sometimes it goes over the top, but in regards to Fred and McTominay, they're often sort of, over the last couple of years, sort of assigned that role of playing that number six, and they're not suited to it. So when they play in that role, they don't perform well. But it's like if you put a striker at right back, that's not his job. So he's not going to perform to the best of his ability. We asked Fred and we asked McTominay to play in this area of the pitch. They're not comfortable doing it. So obviously they're not going to perform to their ability. I think Fred's best performances came at the end of last season when Scott McTominay played in the six, and that allowed Fred to play a little bit further forward. And Fred was potentially sort of one of our better players towards the end of the season, because he was in that more, not attacking role, but sort of a little bit box to box. And I feel that's what McTominay is suited to as well. Whether they're both suited to perform at Man United in terms of taking us forward, that's another question, but definitely not as that number six. So I think that is where you talk about that excitement in regards to him potentially being the best in the world in that area. And it's glad to hear that you say he's actually maybe more, or Man United sort of need a Casemiro more than a Frankie de Jong in regards to what that midfield needs in that number six position.
No, 100%. I completely... I think that's the case, and I was listening, reading some stuff about like what made Casemiro accept this challenge, And I think Ronaldo is involved in that kind of.
It's a comment here
You know
from
what I
Rob
mean?
from It's a Football Thing saying, besides money, why would we come to? And I want to get your thoughts on one of the, which is pretty much his discussion now in terms of the motivations of leaving Real Madrid to come to Manchester United in the state we are. But Rob here is saying, besides money, why would he come to us in our worst? And does him coming to make Ronaldo want to stay a little bit more? Be interested in the Ronaldo debate. You can have your 2 cents on that, Lewis. But in regards to that motivation, okay, Real Madrid have obviously invested a little bit in midfield. They've got young players in Camavinga and Tchouaméni who've come in, and Casemiro, not old at all, only 30 years old, but obviously they have invested heavily. So is Casemiro potentially thinking they're starting to maybe look elsewhere? But a huge thing Manchester United fans have been burnt over the years with a sign-in, not putting Casemiro in this category, but of a player at that stage of his career who's won it all, when they come to Manchester United on these huge wages, by the end of their time at United, we look at them and say, they only just came for the money. Now, I'm not throwing that at Casemiro at the moment. I definitely don't. I want to be very positive about him, but it's a big step down. Now, not in stature of clubs. Real Madrid and Manchester United are the 2 biggest clubs in the world for me. But European champions in Madrid to Europa League in Manchester, it's a big step down. So I'm just thinking, what do you think is the motive? Obviously, Real Madrid accepted a bid, so they wanted the money for the player. But in terms of the personal ambition of the player, why do you think he's moved from Real Madrid to Man United?
You know, what I always believe is like players that playing that kind of level, the main thing that drives them is the challenge. And I see that, like, obviously, I'm sure, I don't know anyone, but I'm sure Ronaldo or Casemiro, it is what it is. We need someone like you. You're the best one for the job. Can you come and like you have a pay rise? And like I think that's what's the situation like right now. And also he's very close to Fred. They both play next to each other in the first team. It's not like Fred come on. They play together. You know what I mean? So that also would be good for Brazil.
Well, it was a point I was going to bring in. It was a point in about 10 minutes' time I was going to bring it up. And now that you mention it, we'll bring it up now and be fascinated to get your thoughts in regards to, as I said, we used to work together and spend hours talking football. And whenever it came to discussing Brazil and the Brazil national team, I think here is when you think of Brazil, you think of strikers or number 10s or attacking wingers. And that's where the discussion is around Brazil, maybe even fullbacks in terms of their proud history of fullbacks. However, when it came to talking Brazil football with you, so much of seemingly for me what the case was, so much of the discussion around the Brazilian national team was defensive midfield over the years. And you do look at the names over the years, they've had Fernandinho, obviously got Fabinho, Casemiro, Fred, obviously 2 Manchester United players now. That move from Real Madrid to Manchester United for Casemiro, only a couple of months out from the World Cup. What happens to the Brazil midfield? First of all, what is the midfield at the moment for Brazil? And also, could you see this potentially changing the dynamic of the midfield ahead of the World Cup for Brazil?
The only thing I can see a positive side of it, because if you're playing with the same guy that you used to play in the club, they're going to be playing together for like 3-4 months, and then they're going to go and play the World Cup. So they will know everything. Fred will know. They already know each other for a long time, but by playing together for like 4 years. But obviously, in the national team, you see the player, your teammates every 2 months. Don't see every day. So I think Casemiro and Fred will be more. They will know each other even more, which is better for the national team because they are already the first choice for the coach. We had Fabinho, but Casemiro is always ahead Fabinho in the squad. Never when Casemiro was fit, Fabinho played over Casemiro because Casemiro has been the best center mid in the world for like 5 years, kind of thing. I would say.
Well, everyone in the live chat, please do clip that and take note of that. So whenever we need a little bit of ammunition to throw at Liverpool fans, we can say Casemiro is better than Fabinho. So make sure you get all that information out because we might have to use that at times.
Just watch the last Champions League Grand Final. Just watch the second half that Casemiro had. So
you're filling me with all this excitement, Lewis, because obviously in terms of when you get a big signing, you want these attacking wingers and strikers and match winners. But in terms of what this team needs, whether football and ability, but also just mentality and that leadership sort of traits that Casemiro will bring, I'm getting more and more excited now. I do want to get your opinion on value for money, but in terms of what he's going to bring to Manchester United's midfield, you are filling me with excitement. But on that value for money, obviously he's going to come at big money. It's reported potentially over £300,000 a week, which is crazy. But that's what top players earn these days. That is one of those things. I want to talk more so in regards to the transfer fee. Now, you and me have discussed football in regards to age 30. That's not old, especially in the way he plays the game. But I'm just thinking it is a big investment. What is it? Potentially 60 million, 70 million pound. I'm not sure, pound or euros, what it was. It is a lot of money. Now we're going to get into Antony in a little bit more, which is even more money than that. But for the stage of his career and the position on the pitch and everything, yes, he is so important to what we need. Yes, he might be so important to the manager. Have we overpaid a little bit, or do you think he is literally that good? We've actually got him at a good price.
It's the market these days. You can't say much about you buying a player that is ready to go. Again, in my opinion, maybe people in the chat or people will bring it up another player that they find out. Like I have always chat to Renato, another Brazilian friend that we have. He loves Fabinho. He picks Fabinho every day of the week over Casemiro. But Casemiro, what he does for what he actually gives to the team, I can't see any other player in the world doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
You talk about him being ready and look at age and profiles and obviously his ability.
He's not. Sometimes you throw the money, you pay 60 million, 70 million, and then you wait for the player to excel. Of course, it's a different league. But Casemiro, he walk in. He can even go fly because he's doing the thing in Spain right now. But if he wants to fly and play against Liverpool, he's ready to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's what I'm saying. So that's why.
Do you think the way he plays the game in terms of, he's a very experienced professional, but players coming from Spain, obviously been in Spain for a while, coming from Spain to England, there is a transitional phase. Now, some players hit the ground running, some players take a couple of weeks, some players might take a season. That's unfortunate. What do you think? And look, there's no magic. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't exactly know what's going to happen. But off the top of your head, do you think he's a player that's going to come in and be right at home, or do you think he might take some time to get used to the pace?
In my opinion, he's ready to go. It doesn't matter if he's a Premier League or if he's different league. I know Premier League is different, but he played if you see the Champions League, they played PSG, they played Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. So he played a mini Premier League a few months ago. So watch the games. He didn't struggle. He's not going to struggle. He's going to struggle against Wolves. He's going to struggle against Newcastle. I don't think so. So
that's a great point.
But I don't. But the point is, it's football. You can never say something for real in football. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. But for me, he's ready to go.
No, it's a great point. There's just a question here from Adam, member of our supporters club here, talking about midfield, and a few people are sort of throwing midfield combinations. He's saying scared. I think Fred and Casemiro may play in midfield and Eriksen to the bench, and there's a few more. So what's your midfield for United? So as a neutral, here we are, Lewis, you're throwing Casemiro straight into the number 6 position. Now, forget about form, because all our players at the moment have horrible form, even players like Bruno Fernandes. We play one number 6. How do you shape up, or how do you think the manager should shape up the midfield?
I think McTominay, Fred, and Eriksen are fighting for one spot.
Yeah.
That's the spot. You know what I mean? So you can sometimes depends on the game. Fred, the good thing about Fred, he break the lines. He dribble. The way he dribbles the ball, it's a very good thing. It's 3 different midfielders though. You have so 3. So I would play Casemiro, Fred, and Bruno Fernandes, obviously. But obviously, if it's a game that you have to keep the ball more, Eriksen is the best player to do that. Yeah. Or if it's a game that you need a good set piece, because who is better, Fernandes or Eriksen in the set piece? I don't know. They both quality. So it's good options for the coach. If they all fit, that's.
I think that's an interesting point in regards to our last season. Our midfield was so weak, and at the end of the day, when you just looked at numbers, now people can debate on whether did they perform at the required level or not. But at the end of the day, we let poor Pogba and Nemanja Matic go. Suddenly, we needed midfield reinforcements anyway. Then those 2 left. We needed them more so, and suddenly the arrival of Casemiro, what that allows, in my opinion, the exciting bit is he can do that job by himself. He can sit there by himself. And that allows those, McTominay is a different type of player to Eriksen. Eriksen's a different type of player to Fred, but they're not in their more natural, sort of more advanced position. The moment you put a Fred or a McTominay or even an Eriksen in the first 2 games of the season in that number 6 role, that's not their type of role. So you limit their sort of capability. So what Casemiro's arrival, whether it was Casemiro or just a general specific number 6, who that was their speciality, it allows others it gives the midfield options at the moment. Or what was happening last season, the first 2 games this season, it was putting them in misplacing the jigsaw sort of thing and playing players out of position, and the options were just non-existent in midfield. But the arrival of one player, not just one player, as you say, potentially the best midfielder or best defensive midfielder in the world, it opens up the possibilities in midfield in a positive way rather than a negative. And that is obviously what the Man United manager needs, because at the end of the day, we're bottom of the table. Actually, I think West Ham have that trophy at the moment. I think West Ham's lost goes, they below us on goal difference for a few hours. Obviously, kickoff is in a few hours against Liverpool. But we'll quickly wrap up the chat on Casemiro, and we'll move on to Antony, a little bit more pressing issues ahead of the game. So if you do have any more questions on Casemiro, for Lewis, do throw them in the live chat. But is there anything I've missed in regards to Casemiro you do want to point out in terms of traits or potentially a weakness? We look at his tackling, and we love that aggression. Obviously, as Manchester United fans and fans of English football, that is a huge part of it, and we will celebrate that. Is there a potential where, have you seen a silly side to it at times? Can he go over the top and be is he potentially a bit of a red card waiting to happen type thing, or is he very composed and in terms of his discipline?
Throughout his whole career, of course, he's a defensive midfielder. Eventually, obviously, he needs to stop the play. Eventually, he needs to, you know what I mean? Or sometimes because, as you said, he's light tackle and he needs, that's his job. So eventually that's going to happen. But nothing silly, nothing too much. I can't remember anything that was even in Brazil, because Brazil always pick players for situations like that. Yeah. And in Brazil, everyone likes him. You know what I mean? I think you guys are doing a great sign, actually. Over the years, I can see, obviously, you guys have signed a lot of players throughout the years, but especially in the last 10 years. But I think this one is very clinical. It's a place in the squad, in the team, that you actually need someone like him.
No, I'm glad to hear that. And we'll quickly move on to the Antony. I want to pick your brains in regards to that. But it's that you mentioned players like him. One player who does like him is Rafael Varane. He's put a welcome post out in regards to welcoming to Manchester United. Obviously, have a good relationship, those two. But there's a few people in the live chat earlier talking about Ronaldo, and we put Varane, Casemiro, and Ronaldo into this discussion. As a neutral from the outside, you've been watching this Ronaldo drama unfold, and there's still probably 2 more weeks of the transfer window left. So as we've seen, anything is possible. Casemiro's arrival, you talk about the potential relationship with Ronaldo. What do you see happening now with the Ronaldo situation? Obviously, you follow Champions League very closely into Ronaldo's career. Does Casemiro arrival affect that?
I think so. As I said, nothing is going to you're not going to leave Madrid. Obviously, you're leaving Madrid to Man United. It's similar level of clubs, but not a similar level of situations in the right now. As you said, you're leaving Champions League club to Europa League club, potentially mid-table Premier League. You know what I mean? You don't know.
We could be in the Conference League by December.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we definitely influence Ronaldo to stay, and then they will be the leaders in that team for sure. Because Casemiro is a true leader as well. You definitely drive those young players, and man, it can be very positive for United.
No, definitely. Now we're going to move on to a fellow Brazilian in Antony, who's obviously dominating a lot of headlines at the moment. But there is over 30 in the live chat, so if you are holding your phone, just a quick tap on the like button. That would be very much appreciated. And I'll give you all Lewis's social medias at the end before we do wrap up. But on Antony, and again, if you do have any questions, throw them in the live chat. 100 million now, I don't know if it's pound or euros. I'm not reading the articles too closely, but it does look like Manchester United have had an 80 million. I'm going to say pound. If I'm euros, sorry, my apologies, but I'm going to go pound for the sake of the argument. It looks like Manchester United have had an 80 million pound bid rejected for Antony. Antony's got wind of this. He hasn't I don't know if he hasn't turned up to training or decided not to train. He's been left out of the Ajax starting 11. So he's not playing at the moment. It looks like he's not going to play for the remainder of the transfer window. He looks like he's potentially going on strike and wants to force this move through. Now, Eric Ten Hag, when he walked through the door, pretty much the first name linked before Lisandro Martinez, before De Jong, before Christian Eriksen was Antony. Now, it was a very easy link at the time. Ajax's best player, come with the manager. It was a very easy link, but there was validity to it. It did look like Eric Ten Hag wanted him. Now, the frustration amongst Man United fans, Lewis, in regards to this price tag, is that seemingly if Man United did their business sort of efficiently at the start of the window, we could have got him for 50 or 60 million. Now here we are with a week left in the window, potentially going to pay 100 million. And there's a player here, as you can see in the banner below, this Gakpo from PSV. Now, look, I have not seen this Gakpo play. However, I did watch 5 minutes of YouTube on him this morning. And my God, he looks a player. Now, obviously, a lot of players look very good on YouTube, but I'm thinking if he's worth 50 million or whatever he is, and Antony's double the price, from what I do see of this Gakpo kid, Antony's not worth 50 million more. So I would be going for potentially Gakpo, and that's without seeing him play. That's obviously only on YouTube highlights. So do get me your thoughts in the live chat in regards to that. But I want to throw this sort of discussion just about Antony to you, Luis. First of all, your thoughts on him as a player, and obviously we can touch on the Brazil and his chances playing in the Brazil team, but also a little bit later, the price tag. Like, yes, at the end of the day, it means nothing, but ultimately if a player comes in for 100 million, that adds a lot of pressure on the player's shoulders, and he's still a young player. So first of all, just your thoughts on Antony in terms of, we've all seen the skills, the tricks, the flicks. He has all the ability in the world. Does he have more than ability, or is it just all show?
No, he's definitely a gun player. He has the potential to be one of the best right wings in the world for sure. He's still young, as you said. He played for 2 years in Netherlands, so obviously. But the price tag, Tom, you see that badge that you're wearing in your shirt. That's why the price tag is that high, because they know. They have Google. You Google Man United last 10 years, how much you guys spend in transfers? Over $1 billion. So, of course, they're gonna try to get as much as they can. And also, he's the best player. But I think, obviously, the player doing that, I don't agree with that. No, don't turn up to trainings, force the situation. It's not good for him. You know what I mean?
I think it's one of those ones where we're being so critical of Cristiano Ronaldo potentially not going to training. So get rid of Ronaldo. But then Antony's doing it in another club. We're saying, bring him in. Well, he's so desperate to join United. So we are all hypocrites as Man United fans and as football fans in general. But in regards to that, you talk about, okay, the price tag's nothing. What can you do? It's out of the players' hands. Fans, we can't control anything. But in regards to that, let's say Gakpo is 50 million. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen anything of Gakpo. Let's say he's half the player, or potentially. But I think last season he won the league's player of the season, and he finished with more goals and assists than Antony. Now, you can't read too much into stats, but it is something to look at. And so he's the best player in that league last season. Let's say he's worth 50 million, and Antony, as good as you say he is going to cost 100 million. Manchester United, you talk about the position we've been in. If we buy Antony this year for 100 million, if we want to buy a midfielder next season from somewhere, we're going to pay 120, 150 million. So it sets a dangerous precedent. So as good as Antony is, would Manchester United be right to pay 100 million, or should they stay away from him?
Look, he's a great player, but if I look in the Man United's perspective, you have so many options for that position already. We don't need to force it another 100 million bid like they did with Sancho. How much they spend with Sancho?
We've got a young player, and he plays on a different side, but Alejandro Garnacho, young Argentinian.
He's a winger as well. What about Elenga, Rashford? Look, you have a lot of options. Obviously, if you have the money to spend, fair enough. You want to go and spend. But I don't think Antony is not going to turn up and he's going to fix all the winger, the attacking problems that United has. You know what I mean? I don't see him that way, especially if he comes for 100 million. It will be so much pressure on him. Yeah. For him, it's a completely different story than Casemiro. He's not ready yet. He's 21, 22. He's still building his kind of, his physics, everything. Everything is. He's a type of player to still need to grow as a player, as a person. You know what I mean? So
is Antony he'll go to the World Cup with Brazil?
Yeah, potentially yes. He's at the moment he's the replacement for Rafinha. Rafinha is our right wing. Yeah. He's on the bench. He always comes on every second half. Always. Or sometimes when we had a few games that we played, like for example Bolivia, he started. You know what I mean? So he'll definitely be there. With wingers, we have him, Rodrigo, we have Martinelli, Vinicius Junior. They all gonna be there. You know what I mean? So, but in terms of I don't know for Antony as well if it's a good move now because the World Cup is only 2 months away. You know, so.
Yeah, there's always definitely a case of that players moving to Manchester United. We look at what Donny van der Beek's Holland career ended up sort of turning out like in terms of he was starting for Holland. Now he's potentially not even in squads. But just a few comments before we start to wrap up. Raphael, good to see you here, mate. Hope you're well. Let us know if you're coming on Saturday night to Scruffy Murphy's and Sully, good mate of it. Actually, Sully and Lewis probably played against each other plenty of times. I'll talk to you at the end of the show, Lewis. I'm sure you would have lined up against each other at times over the years. Regarding Antony, journalists on TalkSport was of the belief that the Ajax board want to sell and make easy money. The other half want to keep him so that Ajax are competitive in the Champions League. I think that is like a club like Ajax. I don't feel for them because if they're going to get 100 million, how can you feel for them? But at the moment, we've stolen them. Not stolen, we're paid. But the manager's come. Lisandro Martinez has come. We're going to take their best player. And you just think, well, I feel sorry for them in that regard, but I don't feel sorry for them if they're going to be sort of handsomely rewarded with 100 million, with 50 million. I'm sure Ten Hag, there's a compensation fee as well. So put all the eggs in the basket, Lewis. What is happening? Just if you're a betting man, is Antony a Man United player this time next week, or do you think he stays at Ajax?
Again, if you have the money, I would buy him. If you like, I don't think that United has like it's not the money is not a problem. That's what I'm trying to say. So
well, it definitely looks like this money. People in the live chat will wrap up on this point in regards to it is match day. We're a few hours away from a massive protest in regards to the money's not a problem. It does look like there's been no money, or we did buy sort of Malacia and Martinez towards the start of the window, but there hasn't been that huge investment since this Glazers out story has sort of come about. And then you look at the Jim Ratcliffe story in regards to new owners and this story of a huge protest happening in a couple of hours. It does look like Manchester United are going to go big. Now, how has that money become available? Why has that money become available from the Glazers? Are they trying to silence fans like what they did with Jadon Sancho, Ronaldo and Varane? There was so much protest. Bring these three players in, it all went quiet. Is that what they're trying to do now? Do let us know in the live chat. But Casemiro had been unveiled on the pitch. They sort of saw how sort of positive that was when Rafael Varane last year held it up against Leeds. Now there was a different feeling going into that match against Leeds. There'll be a lot of passion, a lot of anger and a lot of tension ahead of this game for Casemiro to walk out in front of. So that'll be interesting to see how it does develop. But that is my fear with this money in regards to, yes, the squad does need heavy investment. Yes, we do need all these players in. But I want these signings done for the right reasons. I don't want these signings brought in without the manager's sort of full blessing, just in regards to silencing some fans and maybe potentially affecting the stock prices, Man United, because the price, while they're spending money, the share price will probably go up because there'll be a lot of interest and sort of intrigue behind Manchester United at the time.
But that's the point. I would buy Antony, but not for 100 million.
Yeah.
I would go to Ajax and say, man, just accept my 80 million. That's it. That's what I have for you.
That's the thing. I don't think he would cost 100 million. Now, who knows, potentially. But I think if you go back in with 80 and actually on the table and say, look, Ajax, this is going away in 2 weeks' time. Do you want the 80 million? I think what you could do with 80 million for this club, ultimately, I think that would cave. Now, yes, they might have ambitions to keep the player. You talk about Antony, like obviously he does want to come to Manchester United, but if they can have a word to him and say, no, look, we'll think about your World Cup chances, etc., it will be interesting. But George here sort of agreeing with me, potentially rather Gakpo. The play of Gakpo, he just looks Premier League ready compared to Antony. And I've made the mistake before with sort of these young, tricky players thinking they're not Premier League ready. The biggest case, the one I got hugely wrong, Lewis, was Bernardo Silva. I remember watching Bernardo Silva and say, yeah, he's quality. He's not going to do it in the Premier League. And it's the traits that I thought he wouldn't have that he does display and why he's so good in the Premier League. He's physical, he's tenacious, he has that bite, he has that energy. And those are the things I thought he would struggle with. And you have to take your hat off. He's been fantastic for Manchester City. So that is maybe I'm questioning Antony. Is he ready physically? Or maybe he is. Maybe I just haven't seen it in the Premier League.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I remember people saying when City bought David Silva, everyone was like, oh, it's too short. He's not going to play in the Premier League. Look at David Silva, what he's done in the Premier League. So it's
the thing with Gakpo, and look, is almost the opposite. Gakpo, from what I've seen of him on YouTube, I'm sure a lot of people have done their scouting as well. for a winger. He's a big guy for a winger. He plays on the left with a sort of very strong right foot, and he goes past people. He's big, he's physical. There's a report saying a lot of people close to the game think his future is potentially as a number 9, sort of through the middle. So is that something Erik ten Hag would potentially be utilising? Because we still don't have that striker, depending on the Cristiano Ronaldo situation, what happens there. So for me at the moment, I think Gakpo is the one to go. And I feel bad for saying that because I've never seen Gakpo play. I've seen 5 minutes on YouTube, and here I am saying he's the answer over a huge talent like Antony. So I feel bad for saying that. But at the moment, and it's not my money. And it's one of the ones where we say, we don't care about the money, just spend it. Suddenly when they spend 100 million, we all have questions about it. But there's just a comment here, super chat from Eric. Good to see you, mate. Truly appreciate this. Thanks for the contribution to the channel. I don't think Antony is worth £100 million. It's good competition for Sancho and squad depth, but it's our fault for not getting him early. And that is where my frustration is with this deal, Lewis, because I think in terms of your potential valuation of the player, I think if this deal was done at the end of May when Erik ten Hag came in, you'd be getting Antony. And it sounds crazy at the moment. I think if we went in there with a non-negotiable offer, I reckon you'd get him for less than 50 million. Here we are, a week left in the window, 100 million. And that is, as Eric says, that is Manchester United's fault.
That's business. That's football these days. There's opportunities. Sometimes you don't take the opportunity, or you don't. It's timing as well. You need to know the timing. But to be honest, they've been talking about him going to United since the new coach came in, which it was 2 months ago. Something like that.
Done a package deal. Eric, you want to come as Manchester United manager? How do you pick? Okay, you want Martinez and Antony? Okay, they'll be part of the deal to bring. He will pay over the odds. Will pay a lot of money, but if it's what you want, we'll get it done now. But there's just one or two here as we wrap up, George. If they get rid of Antony, they can replace him with Ziyech for 10 million. It's interesting that Ziyech rumor is there. He's even been linked with United, Ziyech. We'll be interested to see what happens there. George here saying Ajax have to pay 20% sell-on fee to his first club if they sell in. That's an interesting chat. I haven't heard of that, but that does make a lot of sense.
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo, is it? So is Casemiro, he was at Sao Paulo as well?
Sao Paulo as well. Sao Paulo. So it's a lot of players. Lucas Moura is also from Sao Paulo. Yeah, it's a lot of players.
It's an interesting point. A lot of those contracts, or a lot of those South American players who come over actually do have those, George. It's a good point in regards to those sell-on fees, which does put that selling club in a potential situation where they do want that extra potential 5 or 10 million to cover that sort of sell-on fee.
When they also sold, because they bought Neres from Sao Paulo as well.
Yep.
And then when they bought Antony, they involved both players with percentage. It's such a football these days, especially the South American teams, especially the Brazilian teams. They're not even from the proper club. They're from the agent, or half the agent, or half from the sponsorship.
The Lucas Moura deal. I remember, was it Fergie's last season? I forget when it was. When he ended up going to PSG. I remember there was a huge issue with
Lucas Moura United. Yeah,
very close, and there was an issue with the contract in regards to a date. Okay, this fee was going to cost this much on this day, but then after this agent
gave more. PSG offered him more money, obviously, and then that's why he went to PSG. Yeah.
Different, and the rest is history. So who knows? That we're going to learn from that and pay what it costs for Antony instead of watching Antony go to a Chelsea or something. Well, what could have been? But it will be interesting. But just as we wrap up, there are over 60 in the live chat with this. Great. So as we said, if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. That would be great. We'll be live this time tomorrow discussing Man United's match against Liverpool. Fingers crossed it is 3 points. Not even 3 points, just something positive out of it. Hopefully 3 points, that is. But obviously make sure you do leave a like on the video. Takes half a second and makes myself and Larry and the rest of the podcast listeners very happy. But just one or two more, or this last one here, Adam points out, and this has been mumbling for a little bit, Lewis, in regards to the match happening in a few hours. News coming out of TalkSport that Harry Maguire will not start. It does look, I think Laurie Woodwell, now I saw it on Twitter, I'm not sure if he actually put it out, but he was tagged in the tweet saying that throughout this week at training, Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez have been paired together in a lot of the training drills. Does that mean but they're both starting? Who knows? On the outlook, it does look like that potentially the case. But what that means, if Martinez and Rafael Varane are starting together, that means for Manchester United and Liverpool, Manchester United's captain has been dropped, which is probably it's what's needed, yes. But as a story though, you're dropping your captain. Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with it. I agree with it. But in regards to a story, have you ever been in a situation, Man United versus Liverpool, and the manager drops the Man United captain? Like it's needed, but unheard of.
Yeah, but the thing is, Maguire is the captain. It's the situation. You know what I mean? I have nothing against Maguire or anything. I just think I don't know. It's when you have as well Varane and you have the other option now, Martinez, you can give it a go, see what happens. Especially like it will be the first time they'll be playing together. Yes, in a massive derby, but again, something needs to change. Also, sorry, Tom. Someone said something about they said buy Antony and then get a right back and a center mid. A right back,
Yeah.
I think, is more important than a right wing because
Yeah,
who's the right
George
back
here.
right now? Yeah, who's the right back now?
We've got Diego Dalot. We've got two. We've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who, look, they're a weird situation, our fullbacks, Lewis, in regards to Aaron Wan-Bissaka is the more defensive one, and Diego Dalot is the more attacking one. You think if you could combine the two, you'd have a fantastic right back. However, the attacking right back in Diego Dalot is playing at the moment. What's probably letting him down is his attack. He looks a footballer compared to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But in terms of his actual effectiveness, he's not actually that great. He looks good. He's got the body movement. He's got the shape. But a lot of his misplaced, his crossing's woeful. And I'm just thinking, yeah, the right back is a potential issue in this team.
Or just because what is I think I always told you that as well. Over the years, the last few years, the problem with Man United, they always had names that didn't suit Man United. So, like, for example, if you get the top six, get the right backs and the left backs from the top six, they're all incredible players. Even if you get Chelsea has two options on the both full backs. One of them would be easy playing at United.
So many of those fullbacks for Chelsea, you look at Liverpool, you look at Manchester City. How often does a bit-winning team, their fullback be like man of the match? But so often their fullbacks are the best players on the pitch.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And it's an unbalanced team. That's what the problem with the United as well. You know what I mean? So anyway, it's hard to say when we outside, especially you guys, when you're fans, you also wants to have an answer as soon as possible. But at the end of the day, I think it will be clubs. A lot of clubs go through stages, and I think United, unfortunately, is going through a massive stage after Alex Ferguson left, and obviously with that situation with the owners. But at the end of the day, I think it's just gonna go. It's just a stage. Everyone is being there. Don't get relegated, because I'm telling you, Corinthians got relegated with situations like that in Brazil, and it was embarrassing. But it's different in Brazil. We have like more. The league is a bit even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Premier League, it is an even league as well, but not with.
Look, who knows what we could potentially be docked points in a few hours if this match doesn't go ahead against Liverpool. I hope it does go ahead. I hope the protest is strong and successful, but I hope it does. I hope the match does go ahead and we get the 3 points in a legitimate way. But who knows, if we're starting getting docked points, we'll be on -3 points. And who knows, a season in the Championship could be ahead. I, for one, I'm in a minority with a few people in the live chat, wouldn't mind a season in the Championship and seeing some different grounds. But
Castron, you're going to be happy in the Championship.
Yeah. Castron here, can you put a hat on, please, Tom? It's light is blinding. I could borrow Lewis's hat potentially, but a Leicester City fan, welcome, mate. I don't have any banter really to throw at Leicester, but I won't put a hat on, so put some sunnies on. You should be able to deal with that fine. But Sam here saying it depends on if you play two holding in Casemiro and Fred, then you might want a more attacking fullback on both sides. Will a fullback come in? I don't think
Fred attacks a lot.
Yeah,
that's the thing. He's not a 6, but he's a 8. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And
it'll be fascinating to see how McTominay and Fred. Now, hopefully, it's going to be one of them. Some people prefer Fred. Some people prefer McTominay. Yeah. But how Casemiro affects them, not in regards to is he going to make them a better player? How are they going to deal with sort of the presence of Casemiro? But just in regards to allowing them not to do that not allow them to do that number 6 role. Let them go be their own player. Go play number 8. Go be an attacking midfielder. Will they benefit? I think they will benefit from that. Now, if they benefit enough to be sort of a pivotal player for Manchester United, maybe that might not be the case. But I think they'll escape a lot of the over-the-top criticism and even abuse they do get, because now they won't be asked to do something not capable of. And I think that will sort of maybe strive them on. I think they'll sort of gain confidence from that, because look, you played football as well. When you're not comfortable, the worst place on earth to go and pick up the ball is off your back four when your back is to the goal or your back is to your opponent. You don't know what's behind you. You don't want to go pick up the ball in that area. You saw Christian Eriksen. What a fantastic player he is against Brentford. The last place he wanted to get the ball was in that 18-yard box area. He didn't want it. It came, and he couldn't deal with it. It's a goal. And that is what McTominay and Fred have struggled with so often in the last couple of seasons because they're not confident in that area. So hopefully Casemiro does come in and sort of provide that platform. But we're just about to wrap up. Is there anything I've missed in regards to Casemiro or Antony you do want to sort of bring up?
No, just to add something to what you just said. And it's funny how football is funny because the worst place for the Man United players to play these days is the Old Trafford. Because there's so much pressure every time you touch the ball.
That is a huge thing, which I think the Casemiro thing, what excites me, there's so much dread around Man United at the moment. Yes, Casemiro is a great player. He's a great defensive midfielder. He'll give us this. It's why I like the sign of Rafael Varane and Ronaldo. And, okay, they haven't potentially worked as much as we would have liked. But in regards to that ability to deal with pressure, so many of our players can't deal with that pressure. Casemiro has done at the highest level. He's someone who can come in and he'll be fine. And that is, okay, yes, he's a good footballer. He can pass, he can tackle, but it's upstairs, which I'm more happy about.
Casemiro, let me tell you something funny. When he left Brazil, they hated him. São Paulo fans hated him because he was young and he was like he was a bit of silly in Brazil. But when he signed, he didn't sign to Real Madrid. He signed to Real Madrid B, Castilla. Okay. And then that's when he actually improve and then become a better player. And then he played 1 year with the first team, always on the bench, obviously, because Xabi Alonso was there. In that first Champions League, he wasn't in the first team. It was Xabi Alonso, Kroos, and Modric. The year after, 14-15, he went to Porto in Portugal for a year. That's what the game changer for Casemiro. Because Casemiro then improved as a player. Played Champions League, starting every game. He came back 4 Champions Leagues.
It's kind of amazing. You do look at some of those Real Madrid players over the years, and obviously we talk Casemiro, Modric, Ronaldo, Bale, all these, Karim Benzema, who's still going, Sergio Ramos, Marcelo. The names sort of roll off the tongue. I was going through I might have been through Casemiro's Wikipedia page, and you look at the honours in terms of you look what a career a player has if they win the Champions League. We talk about Manchester United legends, and Paul Scholes has 2 Champions Leagues. Ryan Giggs has 2 Champions Leagues. Gary Neville even got that second Champions League. He obviously didn't play in the final, but I think he still got a medal. What fantastic careers. And Darren Fletcher has a Champions League. Anderson, a fellow Brazilian, has it. You look what those Real Madrid players did. What is it? Casemiro, 4 or 5 Champions Leagues. Ronaldo, I don't know how many he's got. Some of the CVs of these players, I don't think we appreciate sort of what they're actually achieving. We're a little bit spoiled. And I wish this was at Manchester United. I wish they were achieving it there. But what we are seeing from some of these clubs, unfortunately not at Man United, but at Real Madrid especially, we're going to be looking back at these players and these teams and a Casemiro, okay, other players sort of grab the headlines in regards to a Ronaldo or a Bale or a Cruz Modric. But in regards to a player like Casemiro, we're going to look back in 20, 30 years and think one of the greatest midfielders ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He left Brazil. He played 2 years in Brazil. I think when he was 18 until 20 years old. He left. People were like, oh, who's this guy? Just let him go. He went to Real Madrid B. And then 5-10 years after, he was one of the best ones in the position. People discuss what's the best midfield. Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi. Or Casemiro, Modric, and Kroos. Who would you pick?
Barca. Just for Xavi and Iniesta. Well, we've had plenty of those debates. Xavi and Iniesta for me.
Well, they're in the discussion. But but Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta, they didn't win 4 Champions League.
No, definitely.
So
but that's what I mean in regards to stats. And when we do look back, and we judge players' careers so much on goals and especially trophies. When you do look back at their trophy cabinets, unfortunately, as I said, it's not at Man United. Hopefully, Casemiro can bring some of those to Man United. But we are witnessing some sort of great teams and great players. And now, just thank God you have filled the live chat and myself with a lot of excitement in regards to bringing Casemiro. Unfortunately, he won't be available for the Liverpool game. It does look like he will potentially be unveiled on the pitch. Fingers crossed that all goes smoothly and he does get it. I'm sure he will get a warm reception, but there will be a lot of anger and frustration around the crowd. So fingers crossed that goes smoothly.
I'm telling you, Tom, if they had a good chat with the Premier League, Just fly him right now. He would play right now.
Yeah.
Just get him from Madrid to Manchester. He will start and play well.
I don't even care if he starts. If he's just in there, maybe just go 2 foot Jurgen Klopp on the sideline. That'll create a few headlines. I'd love to see that potentially. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp already has his excuses ready to go. So I'm sure hopefully we'll be discussing Jurgen Klopp's excuses this time tomorrow on the review show. But as I said, there are a lot of people in the live chat with it, which is great. Apologies, I'm not sure if he's a mate of yours, Lewis, but Rogerio here looks like he's been throwing in the comments all night, which is fantastic to see. Unfortunately,
like, another cousin. Just talk.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I need you to translate all the comments. I haven't been reading them out.
He's a big Corinthians fan. He just wrote the Corinthians legend players' names.
Socrates. Socrates, was he at Corinthians, was he?
Yeah. Okay. Big one.
Yes, so apologies for not reading all your comments out, but I wouldn't need Lewis to translate a lot of them. But I do appreciate you tuning in. Fantastic to see. As I said, Lewis obviously worked with a couple of years ago and obviously playing his football here in Sydney at the moment, but also does a little bit of coaching. I know a lot of people in the live chat, especially in Sydney, play for our charity team, the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney, could do some work with some improvements on their first touch and their finishing. So if you do need a little bit of sort of one-on-one coaching, Lewis is the man to help. Trust me, he's a player. So definitely worth getting in touch. So his socials are in the description below. Do go follow his coaching page at Luiz Lobo FC, but just click on that in the description below. You'll be taken straight to his Instagram page. But Lewis, it has been an absolute pleasure. Is there any other sort of football things or Man United things you do want to sort of touch on just as we wrap up? Or do you think we've covered it all?
No, my pleasure, mate. Every time you invite me, I'll be here. You know how much I could stay here the whole day, the whole night.
You might be on next week when Antony signs for 100 million.
Exactly, 100%. Let me know when and what time. I'll be here. Thanks so much, as I said, good luck.
For a lot of people in the live chat, really appreciated your input. I can tell that by all the comments flying. But there is over 100 in the live chat now, which is great. So on your way out, please do leave a like on the video. And if you are new, please do subscribe because we will be live no matter the result. Assuming the match goes ahead, we'll be here this time tomorrow discussing Man United against Liverpool. And who knows, we'll be going live at any stage with potentially new signings. So it's been an absolute pleasure, Lewis. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone in the live chat. And we'll chat to you tomorrow. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.